I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Also, I want to give a shalom to the elect as labor in sincerity, call halal Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. And I want to do a response video. I thought it was a very edifying and moving video on Apostle Gabar's channel called a solemn reminder to speak the scriptures. Okay, and all of us have to be reminded that every once in a while you get out there, you get into heated debates, but that's being watched over. Letting you know you're kind of what to do. It doesn't mean that in some guys, spirit, they feel like they're doing the right thing. They just don't know they're going off, just like children. Sometimes children know when they're going off, and sometimes, and let's say a son, because we're dealing with young men or men in the truth, young in the truth or older in the faith, whatever. Let's just say young men or men in the truth will go off, okay, and don't know they're going off, okay. So it's really like a tune-up, so to speak, okay. It's really being tuned up. It's almost like a tune-up. So just getting to the point. Let me get a scripture on that. This is 1 Peter 3:15. But sanctify the Lord Yahweh in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh. Okay, now is that your answer or the answer out of the script? Answer out of the scriptures. Now, sometimes things may carry on as long as it's relevant to the scriptures, but sometimes guys just get a little carried away, and it starts moving in different directions. And when you start seeing it going in a different direction, that could be somebody, at camp, you got scoffers, man. They come up, they don't even really want to know the truth. So you also got to be able to read their spirits. That's another thing. You got, Jake that come up, they only coming up because they want to know something. Well, they think they know something more than you. Then it takes you out of your spirit or what your task at hand. Okay. And we've seen this. It happened to me. I'm sure it happened to all brothers. You get all caught up in a heated debate, and next thing you know, you in some other direction outside of the scriptures or some philosophy that you're trying to link with the scriptures. It can happen, okay? But it's not saying that when you break down the scripture, you explain the scripture as you're breaking it down, so the person can understand it. If he doesn't get it, then he got to go, okay? Because this is precious time, okay? This is the Lord's time, and the Lord's time is precious, okay? The Lord's time is truthful. It's not our time. We out there for Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, man. We're not out there for ourselves. And I've known guys that literally went out for themselves. I've seen it and I witnessed it. And that's when in some cases, they'll quote and read scriptures all fiery and out of control, and they're not even doing it in sincerity. That's another factor. Speaking the scriptures, staying on point, but being sincere. Okay, try to make this quick. I just wanted to make a couple points. That's all. This is Sirach 3:24. For many are deceived, okay, by their own vain opinions. Okay, and that's what happens. It becomes like a social debate instead of a scriptural debate, which is social. But what happens is, you got that same worldly spirit of being out over a friend's house and y'all arguing which football team is better. Okay? Statistics show this, and Jake don't even want to go to the statistics on when it comes to that, of who's better and who's not. Jake just got his own opinion. Not what the statistics show or the references show, but Jake just wanted to go in his own vain opinion. Okay, and you got to be careful of that, because then that's what causes you to lose faith. And then when you start losing faith, then you start coming up with your own sort of doctrine. Then you start adding sin on top of sin, as the scriptures say. Then all of a sudden the earth is flat. Okay, this comes from guys with their own vain opinions and their interpretations. Okay, there's several scriptures on that, going into guys that got their own opinions and their own thoughts, and it's not of the Lord's. Okay, now I just wanted to touch on that. Okay, goes on to say, and an evil suspicion have overthrown their judgment, and and Apostle Gabar, he did a great video on it. He broke it all down, but I'm going in kind of in another direction with it, because what happens is when you don't speak the scriptures and you don't stay scriptorial and go through with the scriptures, then what happens is you start getting these other suspicions according to the scriptures because you're not staying in it. Okay? So then when you hear the breakdown of Isaiah 14 and it talks about the strangers, and because you didn't stay in the spirit of the scriptures, now you have your own vain opinion. Now you think it's something else. That's what happens to Jake, man. Jake is undisciplined. He doesn't have the discipline, man. He doesn't have, it really goes back to the faith. Okay? This is Colossians 4:8. It says, what does it say? Colossians 4:8. Salakia, as soon as I find it. All right, right here. It says, let your speech be always with grace. Okay, always with grace. Okay? Seasoned with salt, which is flavor. Okay? So when you're going on in a different interpretation and you're not staying in the scriptures of what the Lord say, then all of a sudden, you lose the season, you lose the salt, you lose the flavor of what the scriptures is saying. The scripture says in Revelation 22, do not add words to this book. Okay. Now, in some instances, there's, you may talk about history and you may talk about certain things, like I said, history, you may talk about the present, you may talk about the future, but that's all in the scriptures. It's all in the scriptures. Even when you go back and you talk about the, slavery and what happened in the 60s, and, certain words is not in the scriptures, but that's why the Lord left it to prophets to extract the truth out of certain things and bring it to light. Once you bring it to light, and there might be a brother that brings it to light, and then you got other brothers that want to add on top of it, and, you kind of watering it down there. It's already powerful. These words is, the scriptures, Hebrews 4:12 says, the word of the Lord is sharper than any two-edged swords. Okay? The word of the Lord, not your words, not my words. It's supposed to be of the Lord's words. Okay? And I just wanted to bring that out, man. Okay, it goes on to say, so that you may know how you should answer each person. Okay? Because what happens is, like a rumor, when a rumor spreads, it waters down and it changes. And that's the same thing on the scriptures. When the words of the Lord come out and you started adding on to the words and you started making up your own interpretations, then it starts getting watered down and then the truth starts changing. And that's what we're not ought to do. And that's why I think this that was a beautiful video to bring it all in perspective. And I just had to make a comment on it. I had to do a response on that, man. I think it was very important. Let me read that again. It says, let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt. And, when you're out on the hedges, that's when you're teaching. You're trying to wake up the elect. That's the common goal. You might tell Esau his fate if he comes up. Here is for lessons. When you get online, you're doing your lessons and you're further teaching, but you're doing lessons. You might be able to go in depth to apply certain things with the scriptures. And really you shouldn't have your own understanding with that either. But you got more time because you're sitting down. You got the whole week to sit down on your spare time or whatever, on the Lord's time, let's say that, and get everything, out that you need to get out. But on the hedges, you don't have to, you don't have to go into a whole bunch of lessons. I mean, it's not really my opinion. I've heard it before. It's really about just teaching. You know, the lessons come. You know, you got all the brothers maybe in the camp, they're all throwing up lessons. You know, and sometimes it may go to a lesson on the hedges. Who knows? But really, we're out there to teach. We're out to teach the word of Heavenly Father, man. And I agree. You know, that's my teacher, and you know, I agree with that. I may have been guilty of that as well in the past, and but that's when you're younger in the faith and you start learning. And sometimes you got to be reminded. In general, you got to be reminded, and that's definitely a good reminder. Anyway, that's all I have on that. I want to say shalom.